Hello, and welcome to another RT Online movie review. I'm Ryan, and as you can see, we're in a different setting this time, just trying new things, channels in beta. Anyways, today I'll be reviewing Pacific Rim. Now, I saw this movie tonight, it opened on Friday, and this movie was all that was talked about over the weekends. Like, other movies released, but none were as big as this. The first time you were able to see this in a trailer was a few months back. I remember the first time I saw it, I was seeing a movie in the theaters, and I saw this trailer come up, and it was something really different and really original that we haven't really seen at all. Because this concept hasn't really brought up since we were kids, and both of them have been meshed into one movie. Like, we had Godzilla and we had Power Rangers, and it's like both of those things killed each other, and then inside the destruction, this movie came, Pacific Rim. Now, I saw this movie in 3D, let's get that out of the way first, and I've seen a lot of other reviews, they said go for the 2D, but I thought the 3D actually worked pretty well for this movie. Because the action's just all in your face, these monsters are just like 20 stories high, and the Jaegers fighting these kaijus is just mind-blowing action everywhere, and it's always happening, and the 3D just makes it that much more immersive. See this in the big screen while it's still in theaters, because it is meant to be seen in a big screen. And now this movie is directed by Guillermo del Toro, the same guy who brought us, movies like Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, and that DreamWorks movie I never saw. Was it Rise of the Guardians? Anyway. So this movie, it starts off, it's in the midst of the war. It's been happening for a while. And as it's revealing, what this whole history is about, Jaeger means hunter, and kaiju means giant monster in Japanese, and Jaeger means hunter in German. So they invented these machines to fight against the kaiju, because anything they were using was not working. They needed something at that scale in order to fight something at that scale. That would be the logic. So the way they started out, they had a single pilot controlling them, but they saw that the brain couldn't really work functioning a giant robot with just one person. So they ended up making the dual pilot mechanic. And then they invented something with science. I don't really know it all, but they came up with the drift. Now what the drift is it merges the two pilots' minds together so that they know what they're thinking. But it doesn't just work for anybody. These pilots have to have a strong bond with each other, because the stronger the bond, the stronger the Jaeger. Now, what was really interesting about this movie was that they executed story along with this, giant premise of monsters and robots duking it out. Now, everyone came to see the movie for the monsters and the robot fights, because that's all you saw in the trailers. But the story was actually really interesting as well. The two characters that stuck out the most for me were Stacker and Makomori. Now, Makomori was raised by Stacker in the midst of all the Jaeger and kaiju going on with the war. And they seem to have that connection that you never really know about until later in the movie. I mean, the main character, he's okay. I mean, he goes through something that really traumatizes him, and he leaves the battle. It becomes 5 years later after something happens while he's fighting in a Jaeger. And Stacker comes up and is saying, we need you, because the Mach 5s, which is the new type of Jaeger, are running low, and we only have one Mach 3, which was your old Mach. Now, we need you to come back and pilot it, because you're the only one who knows how to. All the other Mach 3 pilots are dead. And then that's where it all starts to, build up to this giant thing. And, oh yeah, another character who definitely stole every scene he was in was Charlie Day. Now, you might know him from shows like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But he was playing a crazy, fast-talking scientist in this one, who was he seemed like a character you'd see in a cartoon. His character was so over the top, and he was so funny. It was a good actor. And I also had Ron Perlman. He was kind of like your black market kaiju parts seller. And, he was kind of like the secretive one, but some sort of badass. But you don't really get to know much about him. You just know that he's a badass, and it's Ron Perlman, so, And this movie, the action, it doesn't get too outrageous. It's actually all just centered around the certain fights. Some don't last that long, but it's they're at good enough length for you to just really just invest your moment into, and you're just holy crap, did you see that? He just ripped out his tongue, and the fighting does get pretty visceral for a PG-13 movie. I give them props for that, because that was some awesome fighting. And the way they captured everything, the scale of the movie, it all really felt like a major blockbuster for something that we'd never seen before. Because, okay, back to what I said earlier, it's this childlike wonder that he brought into the movie, and also bringing it into one. He brought like parts of Godzilla, parts of Power Rangers, and parts of, different kind of anime characters, and just like melded into Pacific Rim. And it all didn't feel out of place. It felt like it belonged there. It was a really nice concept, and I give Guillermo del Toro just an awesome amount of props, because he deserves like just all the types of just recognition that he made this movie, and it was spectacular. And this is probably one of my new favorite Guillermo del Toro movies. It's really good. Yeah, I don't want to talk anymore. I think I'll spoil some things, but I give this movie 10 Jaegers out of 10 Jaegers. And yeah, it's very good. I recommend you go seeing it right now while it's in theaters before it goes on DVD. Like, you're going to need a giant TV if you want to experience it like everybody did in the theaters. Nobody's lying when they say this movie is freaking awesome, because it is badass. Before I go, I'm going to put a link in the description. Guillermo del Toro did also a little feature film promoting Pacific Rim with a lot of YouTube stars such as Dodger, Husky Starcraft, and Game Grumps. And they're all each in their own Jaeger, and it's like them training. It's a really funny thing. I'll make sure I put the link below. And you guys should go check that out. It's really good. And yeah. Thank you for tuning into this episode of RT Online Movie Reviews. And I'll see you next time.